Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. I want to talk about compromising today. Compromising is needed in a Fil-Am marriage. Compromise is a necessity for any relationship to last. Can you imagine how much more likely it is needed in a relationship with a woman from the Philippines who may be thousands of miles away from you? Give me a few minutes of your time and I will show you some areas where being able to compromise will help you to be a good husband. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea for help for foreign men looking for Filipinas and who want a quality, lasting marriage. I think any man looking to marry a Filipina needs to be prepared to make some compromises and concessions to this woman because of the many differences the couple will have to deal with, but they can be overcome. I feel another cough coming on here, so beg your pardon for that. I married my wife on the very first trip that I went to see her. That was on day 54 of our relationship. So believe me, I know how important compromising is. But what are some things where compromise will be needed? Here are some I thought of in no particular order. First one, food. If you don't have a rice cooker, you will be getting one. I regularly ate brown rice before my Filipino wife arrived in America. That was, 6 years ago. But basically, I haven't eaten it much since. My wife just doesn't like brown rice. It's not something we can eat together. I can tell her it's healthier, and who knows, maybe she would even agree with that, but it is not what she has been used to all her life in the Philippines. There is no use to pushing this issue with rice. My wife would feel terrible if she were to go just 2 days without rice. Depending on the Filipina, she might want to cook other foods that you aren't accustomed to and might not want to be either. My wife makes foods she is familiar with that I don't eat, but she always has food that I do like available and cooks for us regularly. Even though I don't eat a lot of the foods that she makes that make her feel at home in the Philippines, I do like the way it smells, because when the house smells like that, it kind of reminds me of the 4 or 5 times that I have been in the Philippines. And another thing here, be ready to find an Asian market, even if you have to drive for a little while. This is important for her to eat some familiar foods, which you would likely do if you were to move to the Philippines. You would want the foods you were familiar with. And also, don't throw food away. Don't waste it. To your Filipina, this is probably a serious crime. Another one, how about friends? If you have friends or acquaintances who happen to be women, your Filipina probably isn't going to be comfortable with them having the same place in your life as before. She can be fiercely jealous, which I see as a good thing. This observation is from what I have gleaned from others, not so much myself, because I didn't have women who I had as good friends before. If you are used to doing anything at all with someone like this, be prepared to change that dynamic for the good of your Filipina. Now, my wife and I used to work at the same place, so naturally, since I had been there for so many years, my wife understands that I have worked with many women, and some of them are work friends, associates. The good thing about this is Isa has met them herself and likes them too. My little woman is a class act. Another topic here would be music. Perhaps I have to make some compromises here. I grew up in a home with a musical father, and we probably heard our share of music while we were, in the womb. I had a twin sister, so I can't imagine a life without music. To some men, music isn't all that important. They might like it, but don't go crazy over it. But be prepared, if married to a Filipina, that she might be listening to a lot of it, and much from the Philippines, in which you wouldn't even know the words. I think she needs to be able to do anything she previously liked, and it will help her acclimate to her new country to be with you. Along those lines, karaoke. She might want a karaoke unit for a house or not, but if she can get away with some Filipina friends, I'm sure she would love to sing to karaoke. All of my wife's friends do. If she does this at your place, by herself or with friends, be prepared for much higher decibel levels than you think is needed, considering they're sitting so close to it. This is a pretty big deal in the Philippines, and I think a lot of fun once you get comfortable with it. If you dare, you can check out my Just Us playlist, and there you will find some songs my wife and I had fun singing together. You don't like to do karaoke? Remember, compromise is needed in a Fil-Am marriage. How about the use of money? You might have been wondering when I was going to get around to this. The money dynamics are different than your usual situation because she might not have a penny to her name even if she has been working. That is because she is giving most of it to her family and only keeping for herself what she needs. Women marry for financial security, always have, but I wonder if the Filipina is even more concerned about the stability of her family in the Philippines than she is for her own self. I bet you aren't used to that. She will appreciate what you provide for her, but I think she is mainly interested in being able to help her family. What this means is you have married an unselfish woman. Be prepared for her to want to work, and be prepared for her to want to work a lot if she can. Unless you want to and are able to support her family by yourself, you would do well to recognize this cultural dynamic and allow her to work. You might not even need her to, but that might not make any difference to her. You'll have to talk about it. Maybe you will need to compromise on how many hours she works, but some compromise may be needed here. Another aspect of money is that she is likely very frugal, which is a good thing, but at times you might be frustrated if you think she is being unnecessarily too frugal. I don't like to throw money around, but at the same time, I like to buy quality things for the money I have to spend. One time we had a disagreement excuse me, on the type of furniture that we're going to put down here because she was willing to spend less than I was willing to spend, and we really had to discuss this. I don't know if she was trying to show me that she wanted to be practical, and I'm saying, well, hey, we could have this for 20, 30 years, and showing her in the stores here that you always have different levels, let's say for furniture or anything else, different levels, and the more you spend, often the better quality you get. So, the furniture for like our bedroom, we had to talk that over and compromise as well. Another thing here before I move on about working is she's not going to want to sit at home with nothing to do, and she may not feel good about you providing everything. You just have to talk to her. She might feel like she has to work, for her own self pride, or maybe not pride, but just feels like she feels better if she's working. So anyway, be prepared to talk and compromise about that. Let's talk about family. Marrying someone from nearby means that they can more readily visit family and friends too, for that matter. But that's not the case marrying a Filipina from thousands of miles away. In our case, 9,800 flight miles. There's a big time zone difference, and this means often that the mornings and evenings are good times to talk to family and friends back home. Early on, she will need ample time for this. She likely has a lot of family she feels close to, which means she will want to be in touch with them. You'll need to compromise here, as this may cut into time you want to spend with your Filipino wife after she immigrates to be with you, of course. You are going to have to find a way to give her ample space to talk to family and friends too. The good thing is she is also able to embrace your family as well, and your friends too. As time has gone by, I have learned to embrace my wife's family. From my wife, I learn about, the children over there, nieces, nephews, etc. And I try to remember what they're doing, how old they're getting to be, and how they're doing, so I can talk to my wife about them. I wasn't expecting that, but it has been a rewarding experience. And it kind of brings me to the next area called social media. Social media like Facebook and similar apps will be needed to keep up with family and friends, so make sure she's able to have a quality phone for this. She may also want a tablet or a laptop. I would buy her one. My wife likes electronic gadgets a lot, so I have bought her whatever she needs, and other times she will look for basement bargains on any occasion, or Black Friday sales coming up here soon over Thanksgiving, sales on gadgets. Sure, this will require time away from you, but I would suggest looking at this as a way to familiarize yourself with her family. I mean, they are so far away. My wife enjoys making herself comfortable in bed with her phone. If you want a happy Filipino wife, she's going to need quality phone time. How about vacation spots? We've had to compromise here. Since you're Filipina, it would be new to your country, she might want to see different places that maybe you don't think are all that exciting and really don't want to see. Maybe you already have. But I recommend making those places a priority to see if you can, because it will only help your relationship. I have thoroughly enjoyed driving and flying to places domestic and abroad with my wife. Anything you can do together with your Filipino wife is a good thing. So be willing to compromise on some of the things you prefer to do in order to allow her the chance to explore her new country. Employment, I've touched on employment already, but one aspect is also the type of job she can get. Be willing to help her find employment, maybe starting with a temporary agency. She might have a college degree, but might be willing to take any job because she sees how well they pay. Some husbands have ideas to help their wife as far as schooling, and I have preferences for where she works, but those ideas might conflict with what she wants to do when she arrives in the country. Many times getting her foot in the door of employment might mean taking a shift you are not thrilled with. She is very likely to want to work unless you want to take the responsibility to help her family financially. She deserves to work, I think, and save for things that are important to her. She's a woman. Certain things she's going to want to have. If you're going to start a family, well, then make sure to talk about whether or not she is going to work. In the Philippines, it's very easy. You have a baby, you've got so many relatives around that can take care of them. Well, that's not the way it works here in America. Let's talk about school, education. Don't be shocked if your Filipino might want to go to school where you are. It seems very important for a woman in the Philippines to have an education. This is another thing to talk about after you are engaged. The compromise needed in this area is she will need time to go to school and study. It won't be forever, and it might help her get a better job or position in the company. Please be aware she is not going to want to leave it all behind and go to the West. To truly love her means compromising on some things. For her to develop, she will need some compromising. She is not going to abandon her emotional ties to the Philippines, yet she will want to integrate herself in her new country. So be prepared to compromise with your love beyond the sea.